Welcome. I'm your host, Richard G. Medlock, and this is the Medlock Post Radio Show. This is where we educate, entertain, enlighten, and empower. Today is June 30th, 2022, and today's episode is It's the Economy, Stupid. All right, we'll get going here crazy. June 30th. Can you believe this? 2022 is halfway over. Wow. So I guess we can really say the glass is half full. Or there's plenty of room to put more into it. And so this is where we are. Our disclaimer: the views and opinions on the Medlock Post Radio Show are the views and opinions of your smiley host. They are not necessarily the views and opinions of Spreaker.com, its corporations, affiliates, or any other podcast streaming services. And yes, we are on other podcast streaming services: Spotify, YouTube, Tumblr, Google Podcast, Spotify says Spotify. I need to make a list. We're still working on a couple of more, and we're almost there. We've got some things set up. So we're growing. I appreciate the support of those that are listening. The audience is growing. I appreciate the comments. And I have just gratitude in my heart for the response that we're getting for the Medlock Post Radio Show. This I want to give a shout out, and I've been meaning to do this for my good friend that I worked with for many years, from 2010 to 2015 on the radio show, and that's Tucklow Neshoba. Great guy. Super guy. We had a great thing, had a lot of fun. We got hammered from people that did not like us telling the truth. And that's too bad for the people that can't handle truth. I really feel sorry for them. But anyway, Tucklow, a big shout out to you. I hope you have a great 4th of July weekend and go from there. We're reaching out to some people to have them as guests on the program, and a lot of people's schedules are very, very tight. Now, here I'm a whole lot more flexible than probably they are. So we're hoping to get some guests on and get some of their thoughts and opinions about what's going on in America today. Breaking news. We have some breaking news. This just in. Joe Biden fell out of the presidential limousine while going down Pennsylvania Avenue. Details forthcoming. Now, hold on, folks. Don't go running to your TV to turn on the news. This did not happen. But how many of you thought it could have? Okay, just a little fun there, folks. At the expense of Joe Biden, who's probably picking himself up from something right now. All right, let's go with the opening monologue. Remember I said it's the economy, stupid. Most of us will agree that the American economy today is a challenge to many Americans' budgets, business or family. And there are many reasons for this challenge to our families and businesses. And it is very safe to say that the challenges were created by very bad economic policies since January 20th, 2021. Let's look at some recent economic numbers. Now, folks, don't go jumping out a window here. Okay, I've seen numbers a lot worse than this. All right. Your July 4th cookout will cost 17% more than last year. Now, I think that's a low estimate, but 17% higher. May inflation comes in at 4.7%. Now, the other number was 6.1%, but I'm going to use this one. Incomes in May rose only 0.5%. So our incomes are still going negative compared to inflation. The value of the dollar is shrinking. Now, it doesn't take a third grader to figure out that loss. Mortgage rates have gone from 2.8% since October 2021 to around 6% now. That increase will make your mortgage payments on an average household mortgage $300 to $400 more per month. Now, you're out there looking for a home when the interest rates were 2.5, 2.8%, and you could probably have qualified. But now with rates up around 6%, 5.5%, it's going to eliminate a lot of people from buying a home. They won't qualify. It's that simple. Consumer spending in May was up only 0.3%. Consumer confidence is dropping fast. Folks, we don't have that exposable income that we used to have 2 years ago. Excuse me. An article on CNBC, it says it's almost unbelievable. People are having their job offers rescinded days before they start. Investment numbers are down. Exports are down. Higher interest rates to borrow to buy a car. Higher rates on your credit cards. Get the picture? It's all inflationary. But wait, there's even more. The Biden administration has spent in a year and a half, folks, $10 trillion. $10 trillion they have spent in a year and a half. Wow. That's one reason inflation's going up. The U.S. Treasury debt has gone from 17 trillion to 25 trillion. Now this debt does not go into the 30 trillion debt that the government owes. You understand that? The 25 trillion the Treasury owes is not part of the 30 trillion from deficit spending. And with the interest rising, the government's interest payout for treasuries that are coming due in 2022 will be $111 billion just on interest that they've got to pay out. The Federal Reserve continues to raise rates to curb inflation, but it's doing just the opposite. They started way too late. They need to stop printing money. They need to be taking money out of the market to slow down inflation. Yeah, they're raising interest rates, but it's part of an equation, and they're not doing the other part. They're flooding the market with money while raising interest rates. That doesn't work. The NFIB, the National Foundation of Independent Businesses, I used to be a member of this organization, reports that businesses are struggling to keep their doors open and hold on to employees that will even work. This is due to a 40-year high inflation rate, increases in payroll, and the challenge to find people to work. This is why the latest poll from last night is very telling right now. 85% of Americans see the United States headed in the wrong direction. 85%. That's probably one of the highest numbers I've ever seen. 79% say the economy is poor. P-O-O-R. Poor. 79%. So you have 85% America going in the wrong direction. 79% say the economy is poor. Wow. Under the Trump presidency, those numbers were in the middle to high 20%. What a turnaround in 1.5 years. What, just a total flip-flop. How can a political party win an election when they have created an environment where 85% of Americans don't like what's happening and know what and who has caused the problem? Now, you know the answer to that. History will tell you the answer to that. They lose. The party in power loses. What are the facts that we see and most people understand right now? For a country to go from fully energy independent to importing energy to keep the lights on, to 40-year high inflation versus inflation below 2%, high gas prices highest gas prices in history, to a housing market slowing down, to a government printing and spending money without a good plan, and the U.S. facing a recession if we're not already there. That the economic policies coming out of the Biden administration are planned, yes, planned, to hurt America and our great citizens. And most people believe this now without hesitation. Thereby, the 85% and 79% numbers. Everybody I talk to right now says this is all planned. Now, let me finish with a quote, actually a question by Mark Twain. Quote, "How empty is theory in the presence of facts?" Unquote. How empty is theory in the presence of facts? When a theory doesn't work and the facts show it doesn't work, you do something else, right? But no, this administration today is doubling down to hurt America. Okay, wait a second here. Okay, I'm sorry. I dropped my papers. Had to mute you to pick them up. Sorry about that. All right, before going into our next section, let's come to understand a little about the Supreme Court. It's very simple to understand about the Supreme Court. They are not the final word. They rule on a law whether it is in line with the U.S. Constitution or not in line with the U.S. Constitution. Is the law constitutional or is it unconstitutional? The legislature makes laws, and the executive branch enforces the laws. It's that simple. The Supreme Court never has been the final word. Never. A lot of people don't understand that. That's why after the gun ruling the Supreme Court had on the last week, Congress rushed to pass a new gun bill. And we're going to get into that today too. It's a monstrosity. They call it the gun safety bill, but it's a gun control bill. So going into this discussion, we need to understand the role of the Supreme Court. It is not to make law. Now, in the past, it has, and two glaring decisions, big glaring decisions, is the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare. John Roberts just made up stuff to make it legal. And the other one, which just got overturned, was Roe versus Wade. Now, agreed, most of you, everybody's got their opinions on these things, and that's fine. But under the Separation of Power Act, with the three branches of government, that's how they work. It's a check and balance. The Supreme Court is the check and the balance. Well, everybody is. Each one of them can stop the other. And I read the Federalist Papers the other day. If two of these branches come together, they become tyranny. And that's what we're seeing in the United States of America right now. All right. So with that, I want to go look at an article, great article by Margot Cleveland in the Federalist. If you don't follow the Federalist, you really need to. They also have a radio show on Spreaker. How about that? And that was one reason I chose Spreaker over the others. And I've had other friends come on to Spreaker. So Spreaker, you're getting some free advertisement there. She wrote a great article, 6 Takeaways from the Supreme Court Decision Protecting America's Right to Self-Defense. Great article. Now, I'm just going to focus on the last part, the section number 5. But there was one quote, one thing that not Chief Justice, but Justice Clarence Thomas wrote. And here's the thing, folks. Just like with Roe versus Wade or the gun decision in New York or the religious freedom, the coach in Washington State, you just hear, okay, you can pray in public, you can carry a gun, Roe versus Wade is overturned. And it just stops. They stop listening. Instead of going to read the decision and see how they came to this decision. And that's what Margot Cleveland is talking about here. She did a wonderful, she's probably an attorney. They have a lot of attorneys working at the Federalist. I've talked to a couple of them. So this is what Justice Thomas put in here. a short prologue he provided to his analysis of the Civil War and antebellum time periods proved most powerful. Okay? Even before the Civil War commenced in 1861, this is Justice Thomas, this court indirectly affirmed the importance of the right to keep and bear arms in public. Writing for the court in Dred Scott versus Sanford, 1857. I'm not going to give you all the court stuff. This was in 1857. Chief Justice Taney offered what he thought was a parade of horribles that would result from recognizing that free blacks were citizens of the United States. If blacks were citizens, Taney fretted, they would be entitled to the privileges and immunities of citizens, including the right to keep and carry arms wherever they want. Thus, even Chief Justice Taney recognized, albeit unenthusiastically in the case of blacks, that public carry was a component of the right to keep and bear arms, a right free blacks were often denied in antebellum America. Do you see? They went back in history to look at other decisions to prove that the Second Amendment is correct. And further going forward, that what they ruled about the case in New York was correct. And I'm going to get into some things. But this one, number 5 in her list of 6, the Supreme Court provides great guidance. You know, that's interesting. In a lot of these rulings, they put guidance in there. I mean, they've literally put in there, the legislature, go fix this. They've done that, but in so many words. The legislature, you did it wrong, but there's some corrections you can make to make it constitutional where that law fits with either your state or the United States Constitution. This is how it's supposed to work. So I'm reading Margot Cleveland's words here from the article, Six Takeaways from the Supreme Court Decision Protecting Americans' Right to Self-Defense. Okay, a focus here. All right, back to her words from her article. Beyond these 3 significant holdings, the Supreme Court's opinion on Bruen represents a substantial advancement of Second Amendment jurisprudence because the High Court's analysis provides extensive direction and guidance relevant to future cases. Future cases. They're putting in here guidance. For instance, in holding that there is a constitutional right to keep and bear arms in the public, the court delineated 3 limited parameters for regulations on that right, namely, well-defined restrictions governing the intent for which one could carry arms, the manner of carry, or the exceptional circumstances under which one could not carry arms. On the third point, circumstances not to carry arms, the court made clear that while regulations of weapons in sensitive places was constitutionally permissible, sensitive places cannot be defined so broadly that it includes all places where people congregate. Now think about this. Sensitive places. What do you think they were thinking about? Well, I think they were thinking about school gun-free zones. And malls. Those are 2 places where most mass shootings have taken place lately. Because These criminals know that I'm not going to get shot at. I go in there and just nilly-willy. All right. A second point made by the majority in Brewing concerned the constitutionality of shall issue laws. We talked about this yesterday on the show, episode 9. The court made clear that such licensing schemes that contained narrow, objective, and definite standards remained constitutional under Bruin's analysis. Now, California, yesterday I talked about California has come up that it's a good moral character to get a permit to carry a gun. We discussed, how do you define good moral character? Who decides that? And this is what the Supreme Court's talking about. Don't go off willy-nilly on these political witch hunts to keep your political opponents from having their rights or taking their rights away. And this is what they're a little bit referring to here. However, the court added that because any permitting scheme can be put toward abusive ends, we do not rule out constitutional challenges to shall issue regimes where, for example, lengthy wait times in processing license applications or exorbitant fees deny ordinary citizens their right to public carry. This dicta provides a strong basis for challenges to abusive licensing systems. So they're giving us knowledge and a guideline here to go through. The Supreme Court provided further guidance for courts by explaining how they should determine whether a challenged regulation is consistent with this nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. See, going back in history again. All right, back to the article. That historical inquiry will often involve reasoning by analogy. The Bruin Court explained, thus, such analogical reasoning will require a court to first determine whether a historical regulation is a proper analog for a distinctly modern firearm regulation, and that requires the court to determine whether the two regulations are relevantly similar. All right, you've had these historical regulations. Is the one you're looking at now similar to the one in the past? Do they even cross the same path anywhere? In a lot of situations, the answer is no. The courts have just grabbed something from the past. These activist judges, like John Roberts did, making up stuff to rule that Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, was legal. Two metrics that guide this analysis. Back to the article. The Supreme Court explained are the how and the why the regulations burden a law-abiding citizen's right to armed self-defense. The how and the why. They burden a citizen's right to armed self-defense. Notice they're using the word self-defense. That's what this is all about. This is all about the Second Amendment. Back to the article. Thus, in determining whether the modern regulation is analogous to an historical law, court should consider if they impose a comparable burden on the right of armed self-defense and whether the burden is comparably justified. Again, does example A and example B fall into the same category? And this is where the courts are saying, look at what has happened in the past. Another point clarified by the Supreme Court opinion concerns the importance of historical sources. When it comes to interpreting the Constitution, not all history is created equal. Amen. Amen was my word. Back to the article. The court stressed, noting that constitutional rights are enshrined with the scope they were understood to have when the people adopted them. So these are great words if you go back and read the decision. The same thing with Roe versus Wade. They just didn't throw Roe versus Wade down the toilet. They said it is not a federal statute. It is not in the federal law. It's not in the Constitution. Thereby, the states can make their own laws. And states are doing that right now. Some are taking away abortion rights or limiting them. Like I think some of them are, 15 weeks. Some are the heartbeat and things like that. Some of them are full abortion right. It's again, like I said yesterday, there were 39 or 41 states. Right now, you can go get an abortion. Relatedly, back to the article, the Bruin analysis also made clear that the existence of some historical outliers, meaning a few statutes or court decisions that supported the gun control measure, could not overcome the overwhelming weight of other evidence regarding the right to keep and bear arms. They looked, sounds like everywhere, to come to the decision, the overwhelming weight of other evidence regarding the right to keep and bear arms. That point in the article, that point will prove important in the future to prevent the government from citing some random statute found buried in the archives to thwart the Second Amendment. These are interesting words in their conclusions. Back to the article. The Supreme Court's rejection of any judge-empowering, interest-balancing inquiry that considers whether the statute burdens a protected interest in a way or to an extent that is out of proportion to the statute's salutary effects upon other important governmental interests is also key to the future of Second Amendment jurisprudence. Ladies and gentlemen, they went deep into their research to come to these conclusions. Back to the article. Here, the court made two salient points. One's often overlooked by those seeking to sacrifice the Second Amendment for the illusion of public safety. First, the right to keep and bear arms is not the only constitutional right that has controversial public safety implications. Consider, for instance, the right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures protected by the Fourth Amendment and the number of lives that could be saved if police arrested without cause gang members and searched their property. Now, they mentioned like 5 or 6 amendments in their ruling. I'll have to go back and look it all up and go down those amendments. But yeah, the fourth was one of my, I can't remember the others. Second, the balance sought between gun rights and public safety has already been struck. The court stressed writing, the Second Amendment is the very product of an interest balancing by the people, and it surely elevates above all other interests the right of law-abiding, responsible citizens to use arms for self-defense. or one more bluntly put, if Americans desire to limit the right of law-abiding citizens to keep and bear arms, they must first amend the Constitution. Look, ladies and gentlemen, this article was written by Margot Cleveland. 6 takeaways from the Supreme Court decision protecting Americans' right to self-defense. Margot, M-A-R-G-O-T, Cleveland, June 24th, this year, The Federalist. Go read the whole thing. Study what she wrote. There was just way not enough time to go through all of them here. We would be here 3 hours going through it. Ms. Cleveland, thank you for a great article, a great clarification, helping us to understand how the Supreme Court came to a decision to sustain and support the Second Amendment. And for, what did they call it? The right of law-abiding citizens to keep and bear arms. That's right. Law-abiding citizens. And we're going to get into the Gun Safety Act here in a minute. But this right, this bill, or the law-abiding citizens, we're the ones getting punished now. And that is absolutely not right. Okay. Let's kind of go through some of the things in this Gun Safety Act. I thought it was kind of interesting when I was going through the summaries how they emphasized certain things and kind of minimized certain things. And I think there was a reason for that. And I think it'll become obvious as we go through them. Especially one of them. You'll see it and understand. Okay, the first one. Red flag laws. Well, unless a red flag law contains a full set of due process and Bill of Rights protections in the Constitution, it's unconstitutional. Simple as that. The way they're structured now is that if somebody feels you're a threat or they don't like you, they can call 911 and say, hey, Joe Blow over here or Jane Blow over here, they threatened me and they looked funny at me. They have funny looking eyes. You know, they don't treat their dog right and they have guns in their home. So you need to go get them and take their guns away. They're going to kill somebody. So the police go and do it without process. So they're guilty until proven innocent, which now they've got to go out, hire an attorney, go back to court, and show that whoever called in was a liar so they could get their rights back and get their guns back. Now, these laws are virtually always used to prevent suicide, they say. Yet when people pose a clear danger to themselves or to others, they should be consigned to a mental health facility, which we don't have a lot of those anymore. If someone is really suicidal, simply taking away their guns won't solve the problem. There are too many ways for people to kill themselves. And I got ahead of myself a little bit. This is from an article, Why the Senate's Rush Gun Bill Will Not Make America Safer, by John R. Lott, Jr. And I did not write down the paper or the internet, I'm sorry. But anyway, so these are things that he's looking at here. He continues, if anything, red flag laws harm people who need genuine help. Absent such laws, a person contemplating suicide might speak to a friend or family member and be dissuaded from that tragic course of action. With these laws in place, individuals may fear that confiding in someone will result in a report to the authorities, possibly leading to the loss of their ability to defend themselves or their loved ones. Indeed. And he quotes here Professor Carl Moody at the College of William and Mary, found these laws, red flag laws, slightly increase suicidal rates. Really? Professor Moody did the research. They don't work, folks. It just causes chaos. Another part of the bill, more funding for mental health is fine, but don't expect it to stop mass public shootings. Over half of those committing mass public shootings in the last 25 years saw mental health care professionals before their attack. They were under care. Yet in not one single case were these mental health professionals able to identify these murderers as a danger to themselves or others. For example, John writes, the Buffalo mass murderer underwent a mental health evaluation last year after threatening to shoot up a school and then kill himself. But he was released when he told the mental health professionals he was merely joking. So unless someone is stupid and said he is serious about committing a threatened crime, it is possible to evade detection by mental health professionals. Do you see the catch-22 situation here? I don't know. It sounds catch-22 to me. You do one thing and it creates another. So he asks the question, what can we do to help identify these mass murderers? How can we advance that? Completely ignoring the bill, any discussion of gun-free zones? They didn't discuss it one bit. While 30% of the schools in Texas have armed teachers and staff, the Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, banned guns. The Tulsa, Oklahoma hospital shooting was another gun-free zone. The Buffalo shooter wrote in his manifesto, areas where carrying with a concealed weapon are outlawed or prohibited may be good areas of attack. Remember, that goes back to what I was just reading earlier, that on the third point, the court made clear that while regulations of weapons in sensitive places was constitutionally permissible, sensitive places cannot be defined so broadly that it includes all places where people congregate. So these professionals are saying, hey folks, they target those areas. So if those are the targets, especially with kids, well, anybody, why aren't we doing something to protect it? It goes on, 96% of all the mass public shootings occur in places where guns are banned. These murderers might be crazy, but they aren't stupid. They know that the more people they kill, the more media attention they can get, and if they go to a place where people can't defend themselves, they can kill more people. Some people mistakenly think that if you ban guns from areas, you make them safer. But gun-free zones serve as magnets for attackers. The murderers depend on the victims being defenseless. Whoa. We've known that. We've known that all along. All right. So some of the proposals contain mental health and telehealth investment. They're going to put billions of dollars to shore up mental health and telehealth. We've just been talking about that's not really helping. Major investments to increase access to mental health and suicide prevention programs and other supportive devices available in the community, including crisis and trauma intervention and recovery. How has that worked in the past? How much money has the government poured into these programs and it hasn't helped? Not a lot. Not a lot. Closing the so-called boyfriend loophole. This is such a violation of rights. We know that if you're convicted of a felony, you can't get a gun, or you're not supposed to be able to. And they're saying this has been a big loophole because a husband or a boy, if it's a husband, the wife can file a complaint, the guy gets arrested, and ends up with either a misdemeanor or a felony, can sometimes end up in jail. Well, they can't get a gun. Now they're saying, wait a minute, because there was really not a legal relationship there, we couldn't do anything about it. Really? So now they're closing that loophole that unmarried partners, if they're just arrested, have to wait another 5 years if they don't get arrested again to get a gun. If they get convicted and it's a felony, they can't get it again. It's crazy, folks. Just you say, well, there are people beating up on women. Listen, there are women that beat up on men. So they say the boyfriend loophole. Well, what about the girlfriend loophole? They should have been in here. Anyone who commits violence against another person, not Violence Against Women Act. Okay, that's what we're talking about here. Enhanced review process for buyers under 21. Now, they did not raise the age to 21, but from 18 to 21, you go through a background review, and then the National Instant Criminal Background System check and all that. They go through extra search and all this stuff, waiting period and all that. Clarifying the definition of a federally licensed firearm dealer. Talked about this last week when this thing passed. If my neighbor came to me and said, Richard, and he's a good guy, goes to work every day, great family, he says, look, can I buy a gun from you? Do you have anything you want to sell? Yeah, I got an extra I can sell you. I can sell it to him, do a bill of sale, sell it to him, and it's done. But under this law, if I wanted to do that, I would have to do a federal background check through the NICS system to lawfully sell him a gun. Now, there are loopholes around that, big time. And I'm not going to mention them on the show because I don't want. Well, Richard's Medlock on his show, the Medlock Post Radio Hour, said that these are loopholes and this is how we get around it. So, but there's big holes in this thing. Now, the last one, which is really the crux of what they should have been talking about, and the only thing in the bill is School Safety Act. That's what it should have been called. The school security resources. This legislation would address an area Republicans have focused on in recent weeks, school security. The lawmakers said in their release that the proposal provides money to help institute safety measures in and around primary and secondary schools, while also supporting school violence prevention efforts and training for school employees and students. Now, there's a whole lot more to that, folks. I'm not sure why this article, I know this is from CNN, why they did not want to dwell on the provisions, because it's pretty long provisions in the bill. The federal government is going to set up a website. It's called securitysafe.org or something like that you have to go to and follow those guidelines that the Department of Justice puts out there. And there's going to be a tracking system. So what they did in this bill is create another government bureaucracy to look over your shoulder at the schools and end up controlling more of the schools. This is why they're hiding the information about the school security resources. Because it's set up another government bureaucracy, another government agency that doesn't have to answer to anybody. And there were no rules. It said at the discretion of the Department of Justice, which we now know, and they have proven at the Department of Justice that they are corrupt. And they are apolitical. And we can't trust them anymore. So you want to put your school safety in the hands of these people? It's not about safety. It's about government control over the schools, because they could see that they were losing it over the CRT and 1619 project and the other things, transgender being taught in the school and all this stuff. They were losing that battle. So under this, they can extend that control and make up the rules as they go along. This is called tyranny. And this is what we're fighting against in America as American citizens. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of another show. I'm not through. I said getting close to the end. I didn't say that. I said we're coming to the end. Yeah, coming to the end. I want to finish by reading the words of a beautiful song entitled Smile. I want to end on a positive note today. I hope you've been educated today. That's what this is all about. And enlightened and empowered to go out and stand up and speak up. Do something about these wrongs that are happening in America. But anyway, Smile is a very popular song in the 50s and 60s. It was sung by Nat King Cole. And if you're not familiar with Nat King Cole, he was an African-American singer in the 50s and 60s, probably one of the most popular singers of the time. Fabulous voice. His daughter, Natalie Cole, went on to sing. But this is a song, that's a beautiful song, Smile. It was written by Charlie Chaplin, the silent movie actor. And he had a great side. He was quite a creative person. But I want to read the words to this, and then we will go out of the program listening to the Happy Cow. Yeah, that's a fun song. Okay. Smile. Smile though your heart is aching. Smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile, and maybe tomorrow you'll see the sun come shining through for you. Light up your face with gladness. Hide every trace of sadness. Although a tear may be ever so near, that's the time you must keep on trying. Smile. What's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. That's the time you must keep on trying. Smile. What's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. And that, folks, is the Medlock Post radio show for June 30th, 2022.